Behind every royal headline, there's a hidden truth. The world is watching The Crown once again. This is Golden Crown Insider, where royal secrets become headlines. Picture this. You leave one of the most powerful institutions on earth. You move to California. You sign multi-million-dollar deals. You give the interview of the century. You write a book. You launch a Netflix show. You build a brand. You do everything right on paper. And then one night, you turn on the television, and there you are. Not on a red carpet, not on a magazine cover. You are a punchline. On national television, in front of millions of people, and the audience is not outraged. They are not defending you. They are laughing. That is the moment Meghan Markle and Prince Harry entered what many cultural observers are now calling their roast era. And today, Golden Crown Insider is going to take you through every single moment it happened. Who said what? Why it landed? And what the laughter is actually telling us about where this couple now stands in the eyes of Hollywood, America, and the world. If you are new here, subscribe right now and hit that bell. Because this is the story nobody is lining up in a straight line for you. Let's do that today. Let's go back to March 2021. The Oprah interview has just aired. It is one of the most watched television moments in royal history. Racism allegations. Mental health revelations. A royal family accused of failing the people who needed them most. The palace is silent. Britain is divided. And America, which had largely been sympathetic to Harry and Meghan, is watching every second, including Jimmy Kimmel. The very next night, Kimmel devoted a significant chunk of his opening monologue on Jimmy Kimmel Live to the Oprah interview. He called it one that would surely go down in history as the most shocking gender reveal party of all time. International Business Times, the audience laughed. And something shifted, because that joke, as light as it seemed, was the first signal that even in America, even among the people most likely to sympathize with the Sussexes, the story was becoming material. Kimmel went further, joking that while Harry had some accusations of his own during the interview, the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, vigorously denied all of them. International Business Times. Now, at that point, the Sussex fanbase pushed back hard. The jokes were called disrespectful. Defenders flooded social media. There was real anger. And that anger told you something important. The couple still had a protective shield around them in popular culture. People still felt strongly enough to fight for them. Hold that thought, because that shield was about to start cracking. January 2023, Harry's memoir, Spare, is released, the fastest-selling non-fiction book in UK publishing history. And inside its pages are revelations that gave comedians more material than they could ever have dreamed of. But it was one specific detail, a deeply personal, almost unbelievably strange detail about frostbite, that ended up defining the entire cultural conversation around the book. Jimmy Kimmel saw it immediately. Kimmel told his live studio audience that Prince Harold's book was so popular, they were releasing a version for children. He called it a twist on The Princess and the Pea. The Prince and the Penis. He then read aloud from the fake parody children's book he had written, describing a silly young codger who took a walk in the snow and froze his wee todger. Woman and home, the studio erupted. The clip went viral within hours, and this time the online defense was noticeably quieter. The shield was thinner. The laughter was louder. But Kimmel was not working alone. Because around the same time, something happened that showed just how deeply Harry and Meghan had penetrated American popular culture. And not in the way they had planned. South Park came for them. Comedy Central aired an episode titled The Worldwide Privacy Tour, a full-length South Park episode dedicated entirely to skewering Harry and Meghan. The episode followed the couple going on a worldwide tour demanding privacy while simultaneously giving interviews, appearing on television, and promoting a new book titled WOG. The South Park version of Meghan was described on air as an Instagram-loving woman who has always wanted her privacy. YouTube. Now let's think about what it means to be the subject of a South Park episode. This is not a talk show monologue. This is not a one-liner at an awards ceremony. South Park dedicates an entire episode to you only when you have become a genuine cultural phenomenon, one whose contradictions are so obvious, so ripe, so perfectly constructed for satire that the writers cannot resist. Harry and Meghan had reached that level, and not everyone reaches that level. Bill Maher, one of America's most influential political comedians, a man who votes Democrat and who cannot easily be dismissed as a right-wing critic, weighed in with language that cut even deeper than a joke. He told Piers Morgan directly that Harry and Meghan were ridiculous. He said they wanted it both ways, complaining about attention and then writing a book about how much they do not want attention. He said you simply cannot do both. YouTube, that word ridiculous coming from Bill Maher, landed differently than a Kimmel punchline, because Maher is not a royal commentator. He is not a tabloid editor. He is a left-leaning political satirist who has spent decades taking aim at hypocrisy wherever he finds it, and he found it in Montecito. Then came Chris Rock. In his live Netflix special, Rock dedicated several minutes to joking about Meghan Markle's experience with racism, the one topic that had always been considered untouchable, the one area where critics had always tread most carefully. YouTube, when Chris Rock on Netflix, the very platform that had made the Sussexes millionaires, aimed at the racism narrative, it signaled something that nobody in the Sussex camp could easily dismiss. The roast era was complete. Every topic was now on the table. And in January 2024, at the Golden Globes, one of Hollywood's most prestigious nights, they were roasted without even being present. Host Joe Coy told the room that Harry and Meghan were still getting paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing, and that was just by Netflix. The camera cut directly to Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos in the front row, who winced before managing a smile. Femme negra, a wince. From the man who signed their deal, at the Golden Globes, in front of every major name in Hollywood. That single camera moment said more about where the Sussex brand stood than any headline ever could. Around the same time, comedian Tim Dillon told Piers Morgan that Harry and Meghan were his favorite people, not because he admired them, but because he found their lack of self-awareness endlessly entertaining. He said it was very interesting to make a 3-part documentary on Netflix about how hard things are while living in a castle. MSN lack of self-awareness. That phrase kept coming up, from Maher, from Dillon. From commentators across the political spectrum, it was becoming the defining critique. Not that Harry and Meghan were bad people, but that the gap between how they saw themselves and how the world saw them had become impossible to ignore. And then came the moment that turned that gap into a punchline that the entire internet shared at once. March 2025. With Love, Meghan has just launched on Netflix. It is Meghan's most personal project, yet a lifestyle show filmed in her Montecito home, featuring cooking tutorials, gardening tips, entertaining advice, and celebrity guests. This is Meghan's reinvention. Her statement, her proof that she belongs in Hollywood not as a duchess, not as a royal, but as a genuine lifestyle personality in her own right. And then the pretzel scene happened. In one segment, Meghan transferred store-bought Trader Joe's peanut butter pretzels into personalized bags tied with ribbon bows, presenting them as a thoughtful, handmade gift for guests. The internet immediately exploded with mockery. The Sun, but the moment it became truly iconic was when Jimmy Fallon put it on The Tonight Show. During a trivia segment, Fallon's sidekick Steve Higgins framed the pretzel scene as one of the great unsolved mysteries of science. Asking why Meghan Markle makes her own pretzel bags, Fallon mimicked the action with sarcastic admiration, praising the deeply confusing effort of moving snacks from one container to another. The studio audience erupted. The Sun, and this time, there was almost no defense online. The clip did not go viral because people were angry. It went viral because even people who had spent years defending Meghan found themselves laughing. Something had fundamentally changed. With Love, Meghan debuted to a 36% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Reviewers called it superficial and out of touch. Despite glossy production and celebrity appearances, the show ranked only 10th globally on Netflix in its opening week with just 2.6 million views. The Sun, Jimmy Kimmel, reportedly called it total trash on air. 3 words. No elaboration needed. Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos eventually broke his silence to defend Meghan publicly, saying he was proud of the show and stood behind the Duchess, but even his defense could not stop the jokes from continuing. Marie Claire, because here is the truth about late-night comedy that nobody in a PR team ever wants to hear. Once the jokes become bigger than the person, once the punchline is more recognizable than the actual work, no press statement, no platform defense, no rebranding exercise changes it. The cultural conversation has already moved on, and the conversation had moved decisively Royal and entertainment commentators have noted that Harry and Meghan's decision to put so much of themselves into the public record through interviews, documentaries, memoirs, and lifestyle shows gave comedians more material than they could ever have used. Every revelation became a joke. Every contradiction became a punchline. Every carefully constructed image became a target. GB News Now, and this matters. Not every joke that has been aimed at Harry and Meghan is fair. Some cross lines. Some use genuine trauma as cheap material. The jokes about mental health, about Diana, about the real pain that sits underneath the public narrative, those deserve to be called out. Comedy can be cruel, and not all cruelty is insight. But the pattern cannot be dismissed. When Kimmel, Fallon, South Park, Chris Rock, Bill Maher, Joe Coy, Tim Dillon, Trevor Noah, and SNL all independently arrive at the same target, when comedians from across the political spectrum, from different platforms, from different audiences, all find the same gap. That is not a coordinated attack. That is a cultural consensus forming in real time. And the consensus is this: there is a gap between the privacy they demand and the attention they seek, between the ordinary life they claim to want and the extraordinary platform they refuse to leave, between the lifestyle show they launched and the pretzels they repackaged, between the royal family they left and the celebrity world that has not fully embraced them. That gap, that very specific, very visible, very human gap, is what every comedian in America has been pointing at for 5 years. And the reason the jokes keep landing, keep going viral, keep getting louder, is because the audience recognizes it. Not with malice, not with hatred, but with the specific, uncomfortable laughter that comes when something is just true. The jokes are not random. They are a mirror, and right now, that mirror is showing something that Meghan Markle, for all her intelligence, all her ambition, all her genuine talent, has not yet found a way to step out of. Hollywood is still laughing. Late night America is still laughing. And the question that nobody in Montecito wants to answer out loud is a simple one. When does the laughter stop? If this video hit different, give it a thumbs up right now. Share it with someone who needs to see the full picture. And if you are not yet part of the Golden Crown Insider family, subscribe right now. Every single day, we bring you the truth that lives behind the royal headlines. The stories, the palace, and Hollywood both hope you never connect. This is Golden Crown Insider, and we will see you in the next one.